Hey guys, there is usually a bike show in Tokyo that I enjoy going to. It was cancelled last year due to COVID, so now that it's going again, I decided to check it out. It's simply called Tokyo Motorcycle Show. Inside, there are plenty of overseas bike companies showcasing their latest rides, including KTM, Husqvarna, such a modern design, Triumph, looking good as always, Harley with their Pan America bike, and of course you can't forget their cruisers, Indian. It's nice seeing America's oldest bike company making a return. And even the California company Zero with their electric bike. Pretty cool. This model has a completely digital display, no clutch lever, no gear shift lever, and sounds very different from most of today's bikes. The maximum range is 227 miles. Of course, there's also all the major bike companies from here in Japan too, like Suzuki, Sweet V-Strom, Yamaha. I love the Tenere. Honda. This Africa Twin is so cool. And this is their new model, the Hawk 11. Here are a couple of police bikes, a Yamaha and a Honda. And what's going on here at the Kawasaki booth? Let's go inside and see. The Ninja has been synonymous with Kawasaki ever since Tom Cruise rode one in the first Top Gun movie back in 1986. It's still famous these days, and for good reason. It's a good-looking bike that still wins plenty of races. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Z Series bikes, Kawasaki celebrating it with the release of this new model, the Z650 RS. I'll definitely get my hands on this at some point. There's also a special version of a bike that you guys know I'm a big fan of, the W. This one's called the Kawasaki Meguro K3. Why is it called Meguro? I talked all about Meguro's history in my video titled Japan's Most Beautiful Bike. Let's take a closer look at it. If you can see it looks like... Over here is the... Man, it'd be nice to see this bike in a quieter place. There, that's better. So, what separates this Meguro K3 from the W? Well, there are 4 variations of this platform. 3 of them fall under the Kawasaki W name: the regular W800, Cafe, and Street. The Meguro K3 is the most recent addition. Kawasaki wanted to make this bike look a bit closer to how the Meguro K2 looked in the 60s. So they gave it painted fenders instead of the chrome ones found on the regular W. A gas tank painted in a silver mirror paint that looks similar to the K2's color scheme. A cover added to the top of the rear shocks to give it more of a classic look. And like the K2, it has white piping on a smooth leather seat, as opposed to the W's tuck-and-roll design. Where the W has straight handlebars, the Meguro K3s are angled back more towards the rider. Besides that, there's a red circle on the bevel gear cover for an added unique touch. and of course the classic Meguro badging in both Japanese and English. The tank badge is handmade and hand-painted. Like the W, the only place you see Kawasaki written on this bike is on the back of the seat. Except for those differences, the Meguro has the same air-cooled 773cc engine and classic body design as the W. And both bikes have the option of getting heated grips that can be adjusted in 3 stages. Definitely a nice feature for those cooler rides. Even though the differences are minimal, it's still fun seeing the small touches that Kawasaki's made to separate this bike from the W and to resurrect the Meguro name. Meguro brings up so much nostalgia here in Japan that in the one day I rode this bike, 3 strangers approached me because of it. One guy was at a rest stop on the highway. He took all sorts of pictures of it. Then while filming this portion of the video, this guy walking his dog stopped to tell me how his dad used to have a Meguro back in the day. And finally, when I filled up at a gas station, the station attendant was excited telling me 3 times how cool this bike is, and how he remembers seeing Meguros on the road in the 60s, and how he used to have Kawasaki's W1, which was based on Meguro's K2 model. All that attention made me feel like I was driving a celebrity around. So now that I've introduced the Meguro K3, let's take it for a ride. It rides like the W, sounds like the W, and handles just as well as the W, especially with the angled handlebars. It's another great addition to Kawasaki's lineup for sure. So I'd like to take you guys on a unique ride today. This is my second video talking about Meguro's bikes, so I thought it might be fun to go somewhere that played a significant role in the survival of the Meguro brand back before it was partnered up with and absorbed by Kawasaki. That is, if I can ever get out of this Tokyo traffic. There we go. So as I mentioned in my previous video, Meguro's bikes were originally built near the Meguro neighborhood of Tokyo. Since we're driving through Tokyo, I should probably mention a couple of sites that we're passing. This tower coming up on the right is called Tokyo Sky Tree and stands at 634 meters high. It's the tallest tower in Japan. And this building with a strange golden shape on the roof is the Asahi Beer Hall. It's one of the buildings of the Asahi Brewery headquarters. The golden structure on the top is supposed to represent the burning heart of Asahi, as well as a frothy head of beer. With that said, the locals here sometimes refer to it as Kin no Unko, or the golden turd. Alright, anyway, back to Meguro. This part of the story gets dark. So we've all heard about how Hiroshima and Nagasaki had atomic bombs dropped on them during World War II. Well, something I didn't know before was that many other parts of Japan were destroyed with regular bombs. Tokyo, being the capital, was heavily bombed. So in 1944, Meguro decided to relocate their manufacturing facilities somewhere safer outside of the city center. And it's a good thing they did, since their main factory in Tokyo was destroyed from the air raids. One of the places Meguro moved to is around 3 hours north of Tokyo, to a small city called Nasu Karasuyama in Tochigi Prefecture. So why did Meguro choose Nasu Karasuyama as one of its major manufacturing locations until the war ended? It was near the hometown of Meguro's founder, Nobuji Murata, and it's said that he's the one who chose this location. Because of the war, they had to stop production of bikes in order to help produce military equipment. They moved most of their tooling equipment out of Tokyo, remodeled a warehouse in Nasu Karasuyama into a factory, and made engines as well as parts for airplanes there. In 1946, after the war had ended, Meguro used the factory to make transmissions for a manufacturer of three-wheeled trucks. One of the reasons why these trucks were popular was that they could be driven without a license. Not too long after that, Meguro temporarily closed down the factory, moved their tooling equipment back into plants that were both in and around the Tokyo area, and resumed production of motorcycles in 1948 using some parts they made years before, during the war, that they dug out of the rubble from the Tokyo air raids, along with parts they'd stored in a factory in Shizuoka Prefecture. The rest of the story I talked about in my previous video, but to recap, in 1960, Meguro was suffering financially and decided to form a business alliance with Kawasaki, and in 1963 started calling the company Kawasaki Meguro Works. Eventually, in 1964, Kawasaki Meguro Works went bankrupt, and Kawasaki immediately took over the brand completely. One of the reasons why Kawasaki made this move was because Meguro made the biggest bikes in Japan at the time, and they'd already established a reputation for making fast, reliable bikes. Another reason why is because there were still orders for 500 Meguro police motorcycles to be produced for the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, and they wanted to fulfill that contract. These police bikes were based on Meguro's K-series bikes, predecessors, in a way, to today's K3 bike. And we've made it to the factory. Unfortunately, we can't actually go inside, since this is private property. I read that the original Meguro factory building is still somewhere inside this facility today. That maybe this guy knows about it. Let's see.
すいません。昔ここは目黒の工場ですね。昔です。まだありますか？そこまではわからないです。ああ、本当ですか。はい。じゃあありがとうございます。すいません。
Well, I tried anyway. Well, today, the current company here manufactures car-related parts as well as parts for Kawasaki. Since we're here, let's take a quick look at what else is in this area. There was an event held in this city last year called Meguro Cannonball, where Meguro bike owners gathered to show off their classic Meguro bikes. Apparently, they're trying to make it an annual event. That'd be cool to see sometime. Ryumon Falls. Free parking, no entrance charge, and some really nice falls. This would be a relaxing place for a picnic. While researching this city, I also found that there are castle ruins not too far away. We might as well check those out too. They should be around here somewhere. Where is Google taking me? Okay, so I found these stairs that lead up this mountain to the ruins, supposedly. Let's see what we find. Whew, we made it. So this is the site where Karasuyama Castle used to be. It was pretty hard finding much information about this site. Apparently, it was a difficult castle to defeat. I can definitely see why after climbing all those steps. These statues were built here to celebrate the castle's 600th anniversary. The dark-colored statue is known as Bishamonten. He's a god of war who punishes evildoers. He's usually portrayed holding a spear in one hand and a pagoda in the other. As unusual as these statues are, they're certainly overlooking a nice view. They're probably thinking about their next Meguro bike. Well, hope you guys enjoyed taking a stroll with me today down Meguro's memory lane. I think I've covered pretty much everything about this company now. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.